Last night, my son was watching the game between the Detroit Lions and the 49ers. And there were tens of millions of people watching it. And everyone saw the terrible loss that the Detroit Lions had. At halftime, they were winning by 24-7. That was their lead. And they ended up losing 34-1. And the Detroit Lions had never made it to the championship. They never made it to the World Series. And they could have made history by winning last night. But instead, they lost their lead of 24-7 and ultimately lost the game. And I said to myself, the Baal Shem Tov says that everything you see in this world is a lesson. And if 40 million people watch this game, what is the lesson in this story? And all of us feel bad for the Detroit Lions and say, how could you lose such a great lead? What a shame. They must feel so sad this morning or last night thinking that they almost went to the Super Bowl and broke history for the first time in their league's team. But the truth is, I thought to myself, we're all like the Detroit Lions. You see, this week's Torah portion is Jethro. Jethro is the father-in-law of Moses. He comes to the desert after the Jews leave Egypt, after they experience the splitting of the sea, after they receive the Torah at Mount Sinai. And he sees the way Moses is single-handedly judging the people from morning to night, and he says to them, this is not a good idea. You're going to get burnt out from morning to night, answering all the questions and resolving all the disputes. And in addition to that, it's not fair for the people to have to wait online all day to ask a question. Rather, what you should do is set up a judicial system. And Jethro is the first one to set up the first judicial system where there's lower courts, heads of 10, and then heads of 50, and heads of 100, and heads of 1,000. And only the most difficult questions went higher and higher in the court system to the more expert legal judges in Torah scholarship. And the most complex questions arrived at Moses' desk, and if he couldn't answer it, he took it to God himself. And our rabbis say the reason his name is Yitro, the word Jethro, Yitro in Hebrew means yeter, to add, to increase. And our rabbis say he added a section to the Torah. His advice, his recommendation to Moses became a new section and portion in the Torah. He added to the Torah. And the lesson here in itself is so powerful. The lesson is sometimes you think, what can I do to add to something that's already so great? The Jews went out of Egypt, 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea, miracles, the revelation of Mount Sinai. Who am I to add to that? And the message of Jethro is no. Every person can build on the greatest greatness and make it even greater. In English, someone once said that the enemy of great is not bad. The enemy of great is good. Because sometimes you say things are good and you don't strive for even greater greatness. When you know something's bad, you work hard because you know it's bad, I got to change it. But when it's good, it's like, okay, it's good. And that's when you fail in your mission of achieving greatness. In Yiddish, this expression, as good is good, if good is good, is besser nish besser, is better, not better. And the truth is, it's what happened to the Detroit Lions happens to all of us. Think of a person who loses weight and he's doing great. Then he becomes complacent. He's like, oh, I already lost so much weight. And he slips back. And what happens? He regains all his weight. Think of somebody who courts a woman and he manages to win her heart and he's in love and he's taking such good care of her. And then what happens? Unfortunately, he starts taking her for granted. And he stops doing all the things he did. And as a result of that, he loses that beautiful relationship. And it's true in spiritual matters as well. Person achieves great spiritual heights, and then he slides back. That's why King David in the book of Psalms says, Mi aleh b'har Hashem, who could climb onto the mountain of God? Umi yakum b'mkom kadsha, and who could stand in that holy place? It's one thing to climb the mountain, but then it's another thing to maintain it, to stand on that great height. What happened to the Detroit Lions was, they said, we're winning 24-7. And they let down their guard in the second half, as opposed to the 49ers who said, things aren't good, we have to work really hard. And so yesterday's story is a lesson for all of us. Never be content when it comes to spiritual matters, matters of goodness. Always strive for more. Never say, I have enough, I'm doing great, I'm leading, I'm doing well. No, as good as you're doing, you could do even better, it could be even greater. It's a story about a woman who couldn't conceive a child. She had gone to all the experts, and she came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe for a blessing. And she brought her file from all her doctor visits about how she couldn't have a child, and she wants a blessing from the Rebbe. And the Rebbe said, you know, here in the community there's a doctor who's actually a chiropractor. His name was Dr. Baumgarten. Why don't you go see him? Maybe he could help you. Well, the woman left the Rebbe's office and sure enough called Dr. Baumgarten. Dr. Baumgarten immediately went to see the Rebbe and he said, why are you sending her to me? I'm a chiropractor. There's not much I can do. I don't know anything about fertility. How am I going to help this woman? The Rebbe looked at Dr. Baumgarten and with a smile, the Rebbe said in Yiddish, Was artist you? Why do you care? Why do you mind if the blessing will come through you? You see, sometimes we think, I can't do more. I can't be better than I am. I can't achieve more. It's in God's hands. And if God wants to make the blessing come through you, it'll come through you. And sure enough, that woman, Dr. Baumgarten saw her, didn't know what to do. He gave her a few taps here and there, and sure enough, a year later, she had a baby. God has blessings in store. We have to make the effort, do our part, and God will send the blessing through us. Never be content. Never say, I've reached my max. I've peaked out. There's always another goal, another great achievement. And like Yitro, we could actually add to the greatest achievements, like Jethro added to the miracles and the revelation at Mount Sinai with his additional piece of Torah. Have a wonderful day.